Now, you might be asking yourself, what does acting have to do with emotional intelligence and psychology and communication? We're going to be getting into all of that. But first, I thought it was proper if I introduce myself so you know who I am and who you're getting this information from. My name's Dominic. I am a professional actor, stand-up comedian, and I'm also a behavioral specialist. That light in you, and you're afraid for them to reject it. Now, how all those things kind of came to be is an interesting story. So, I've been acting since I was a child. I did my first play at 8 years old, and it took control of my life. Since then, I'm happy to say I've been able to study acting everywhere from New York City to Chicago to Los Angeles. But it was when I trained at this place called the Stella Adler Studio for Acting that my life changed forever. Stella Adler was the acting teacher who trained such acting greats as Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, Benicio del Toro, Mark Ruffalo. Essentially, any great actor whose name ends with O, they can thank Stella for all their success.
Before Marlon Brando became a huge star, he took lessons at the Stella Adler Studio of Acting.
I had studied with I was studying with Stella Adler. So it was serious. And if you were in that conservatory studying with Stella Adler, that was really serious stuff.
And she says to me, you have to go to Los Angeles to the Stella Adler School of Acting. You want to be an actor.
Hey, Stella! So I decided that I wanted to learn there because those are my favorite actors in the world. When I went there, I thought I was going to learn how to be a fantastic movie star or a powerful stage presence, but it was actually a program that Stella created that I gravitated to more. You see, Stella Adler believed that growth as an actor and growth as a human being are synonymous. So what that means is the more life experience that you have, the more you can draw on emotionally to relate to a character. Makes sense, right? Well, she decided she was going to go somewhere that had a wealth of life experience that's more extreme than anywhere else she could think of. And that was maximum security prison. So she started what she called the Stella Adler Outreach Program, which went into incarceration facilities and taught her methods of acting. As soon as I found out about this, I was like, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to be a part of it. I don't care if I have to wait in line. I don't care if I have to volunteer. I don't care if I have to pay them to go. I want to. So I banged down the door of the artistic director and I said, please, 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 please let me be a part of this. I'll do anything. He was like, actually, you're the only one interested. It's yours. Go ahead. Have fun. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, we had a wonderful team that went inside the prisons and we started teaching Stella's method in there, the acting. Now, I'll admit, at first, I just thought it was going to be something fun that we could do to break up the monotony for folks who were incarcerated. But as soon as I got in there, I realized it was so much more. We began by just playing simple acting and improv games with these group of people. And all of a sudden, I saw men with tattoos on their face, people who have lived a life of crime or gang violence or been involved in drugs since they were children. They all of a sudden started coming to life. They started laughing. It's not a waste of time. And joking around and rolling around on the floor. Before I knew it, we were having like a massive breakdance battle in the middle of the room. But it was what they said after the class was done that really struck me. They would come up to me and say things like, you know, while I was in this class, I forgot I was even incarcerated. Or, wow, if only I would have known this stuff 5 years ago, maybe I wouldn't be here right now. I found out that these silly little games that we were playing ended up having a much deeper emotional impact than I originally thought. Whatever it is you are here to fight, whether it's addiction, whether it's trauma. So then what we would do, after we were all warmed up from these acting and improv games, is we would actually take the individual stories and turn them into one-person shows in front of a cell block. This was the students' opportunity to share their story, share what they've been through, why they're there. They would perform them in front of all the other incarcerated individuals, as well as the staff at the prisons and the other teachers and everything. And it was so extremely moving. When people would share their stories, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. I mean, they were crying, I was crying, the warden was crying. I even had a guard come up to me one time and say, "You have no idea how hard you just made my job." I just watched this wonderful performance and I heard these stories, what these people have been through, the lives that they have led to lead them where they are right now. And now I'm forced to look at them as a human being. You see, he explained to me that his job, as he put it, was to bust skulls. That meant he had to look at them like the bad guy. But after hearing their stories and finding out everything they've been through, he said, if I'd been through all that, I don't know that I wouldn't be where they are right now. To put it in actor terms, it transformed these individuals from two-dimensional characters to three-dimensional characters. You see, in a bad story, all the characters are two-dimensional. The good guy's just good because he's good. The bad guy's just bad because he's bad. So on and so forth. But with a three-dimensional character, we get an in-depth look at who they are. We start to see the world from their perspective. We start to feel empathetically what they're going through, understand them on an emotional level, and all of a sudden, it becomes real. In society, we have this problem as well. We have the problem of turning individuals into two-dimensional characters. Oh, they're the bad guy, they're the good guy, they're somebody that makes me mad, and I am, of course, the hero, right? But what we're gonna do in this course is we're gonna dive deep into our emotional understanding to figure out all the dimensions we have and start looking at others with all the emotional complexities that they have. Now, that guard wasn't the only one who took notice of how emotionally impactful these classes were. I was actually approached by a high school that operated inside of the prisons, and they asked me if I would be interested in helping out with their anger management program. They explained to me that they were seeing more out of our acting classes than they were in their anger management program, and they thought that it could use a boost to spice it up. So I thought to myself, sure, I'm an actor. I can pretend like I know how to teach anger management. And they were like, no. Legally, we have to train you. So I became certified through the Cognitive Behavioral Institute of California to teach anger management using something called cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, for those of you not familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy, it's very simple. It's just understanding that your thoughts dictate your emotions, which then dictate your actions. As soon as I found this out, I realized why the acting classes were so impactful. It was because that's the same method actors use. Actors try to figure out what their characters' thoughts are so they can start feeling emotionally what their characters feel so they can behave or act like their character. So I said, all right, give me the anger management curriculum and I'm gonna find an acting game for each and every one of these things. And my company was born. It's called Cognitive Behavioral Theater, and I use acting and improv techniques to teach the basis of things like stress management, effective communication, personal development, vision building, and on and on and on and on and on. I was able to branch out from the prisons and start teaching in places like rehabilitation centers, homeless communities, anywhere that could benefit from growing their emotional intelligence. And the biggest thing that I focused on was making it fun, making it interactive, making it visceral. Now, while I was teaching at one of these displacement communities for youth, the CEO of the program came up to me and asked to talk to me privately. I'll admit, I was pretty freaked out because I thought she was gonna be like, hey, these kids need to learn practical skills, like how to apply for a job and make a resume, and you're making them bark like a dog and pretend like they're walking through Jell-O. You need to get out of here. But instead, what she said really shocked me. She said, hey, I have to speak in front of a bunch of investors next week, and I'm horrified of public speaking. Can you show me what you were showing them? And at that moment, I was able to branch out into the corporate world.
Dominic's was incredible. I will recommend this to everyone I know. He's hilarious. I learned so much, got the energy flowing. I was nervous at first because I thought, oh man, are we gonna be put on the spot? Are we gonna have to do something really embarrassing? But it wasn't like that at all.